Kung gingnan kag ambisyosa ka, there's nothing wrong with that. Go for it. Wala kaya mo gitapakan nga tao, you're on the right track.
I think it's good to be ambitious. I want to raise our kids na they have to be ambitious, they have to be confident.
Kumusta ug maayong adlaw kabayan? Welcome back to the Pinoy Expat. My name is Icon and I am your host. Dito sa Pinoy Expat, pag-uusapan natin ang iba't ibang aspeto ng buhay ng Pilipino sa ibang bansa. Ngayong araw, kasama natin ang nagagandahang dilag, Sherlyn and Aubrey, proprietors of CLA, isang skin clinic dito sa Australia. Samahan niyo ako at pakinggan natin ang kanilang kwento.
So I'm a nurse back in the Philippines and I've always been passionate about beauty.
Same, I'm a nurse from the Philippines and then name transfer to New Zealand. So, nag-nurse po ko dito, then now I'm based in Australia.
Are you guys friends sa Philippines or di rin na mo nag-ila?
Di rin namin nag-ila.
Yeah.
How did you guys end up knowing each other?
In 2023, our
Okay.
family moved here from Sydney. And then I was looking for a space because I had my a small business in Sydney and I was operating there. And I wanted to continue to operate here in the South Coast. But then, I don't know anyone. I'm starting again from scratch. So I was looking for a space where I can like rent casually. And then it so happened that we had a common friend. We have a common friend because Filipino and Filipino raman, diba? More kaila ra. And then we got introduced to each other. Aubrey has a clinic in Gwynville at the time.
Near the university,
Near-
Wollongong
yeah,
University.
close to the university.
Wait sa. What unsay pasabot na siya clinic?
Yeah, so I have my own business here in Wollongong. So it's just a small clinic, but there's a storefront. And then, yeah, it happened that Sherlyn's looking for a space. So casually, like if ever she has a client, she'll rent the space for a day. Yeah, and that's how I met her.
So dili jud mo friends before.
Dili yun.
Nganong murag long time best friends sa man magduha tan awon. I mean like whenever I come here,
Yeah.
when I talk to you guys, the way I feel is like you guys knew each other since grade school. So sa ato pa you've only known each other for a couple of years?
Yeah.
Almost 3
3
years.
Okay, wait. So Aubrey, New Zealand kagikan.
Yes.
And when ka ni hawa sa New Zealand?
Mga 2018. So 5 years ko nagstay sa New Zealand. Then we decided to migrate here because family's here, my brother's here, and I feel like I'm at that point in my life where I want to start a family. I just got married. I want to have kids. So then I said it's good to be around family because you need a village to raise your family. Then
Right.
that's when it started.
What was the biggest culture shock for you moving from New Zealand to Australia?
Honestly, nothing really. More on when I was in New Zealand and everyone's like talking about Australia, moingon sila nga daghang racist dire. Ang New Zealand kay they're very nice, very accommodating. So moving here, I was like, oh my God, basig racist lagi sila. Then pag human Pinoy pag yun ta, mahadlok kay tabano. But I've never met someone who's rude to me. Naalang siguro yung attitude, but then kabaluban ta mga Pinoy, no? We're very like easy to get along with, maka-adjust ta, flexible ta. So nothing, to be honest. I'm very outdoorsy in New Zealand. Here, dili kayo. Kay kana laging idea nga daghang snake din spiders. I think that's about it. But nothing.
alright. Now, Sherlyn, first country nimo ang Australia.
Yes.
Okay, so unlike Aubrey na nag-move sa New Zealand sa anandiri. For you, what was the biggest culture shock?
Kana siguro, dili ka kaila sa iyong silingan.
Oh,
I think that would be it. Kanang, even now, you don't like know your neighbors. Like,
Unlike
wala
sa
kasi
Philippines na
Unlike
you
sa
know the
Philippines,
whole
you know
barangay.
each other. Oh.
That's the first time I've heard that as an answer na I don't know my neighbors.
Yes, sakto ba, no?
No, because unlike sa Philippines na, yun na nga, kilala mo yung buong barangay. Or here, it's like, you've lived in the same street for 5 years and you don't know.
Lagi.
Diba? It's very different.
Dili siguro, ang ako, wala kayo ni resonate sa ako, ang word nga shock is wala.
Shock kayo, no?
Shock. Pero, okay, it's like, I'm just indifferent about it. But napansin lang na ko. Kay pag anihan ako kay excited kay ko. Mo gyud to di wala kay ko na later on atong mga na homesick actually.
Right.
Like later in the year because I arrived here January 2014. Like I was excited. It's a new country, it's a new opportunity. I can be whoever I want.
You're young.
I'm young.
Oh, yes.
Char.
No,
Young.
lami kaayo.
Wapa pa, Jud.
Ay, ano?
Di nakalimtan.
Ay.
Kalimutan.
So mao to mura ko og wala kay ko anang mga wala kay ko fears. I was like go let's do this and then later on mura na kag ay
Nag-sink in na to.
nagsink in na okay wala gyud ay kalisod ay kay maging friends. Di mo
And
sila
you're right. Like, Filipinos are very adaptable.
Yes.
Dali na kayo maka-adjust bisa ka sa paibutan.
Pinoon.
But, yeah, that's true. Eventually, you feel like, lahi ra jud, LRG. No, na it's so hard making friends. You don't know your neighbors. Going out, you always have to pre-plan everything. Unlike sa Philippines, like, you can just go with the flow. Bahala.
Lagi.
After work, you can't go and meet with your friends because you have to schedule it.
Yes.
Back in the Philippines, inom pa ka
Oh.
after work.
Oh,
Ngano
yeah.
man to?
Oh.
I feel like everyone is
You know?
sa Philippines is available.
Yes.
That's true. Everyone's like,
Here is kuan makig-schedule makig-appointment pa kasi imong
ngano ka
friends.
na, no?
No, because we have house help back in the Philippines. So meaning you have more time to do like kanang mga laag-laag, extracurricular. But here you have to go home, you have to cook, you have to do the laundry, tanan, right?
So, kani diri kay nag-kick in na jud ang pagka-adulting.
Yes.
100%. Yes.
Sa Philippines, you have plenty of time to actually live life.
Exactly.
To enjoy life.
That's true. Pero lisod jud pud mag-enjoy kay kung makay kwarta.
Kung
no?
wakay-
May
Kwarta.
kwarta, like future.
Oh. Yeah. Tell us about CLA sa inyong business. What do you do and what your services are? I mean, ako, kabaluman ko no because I come here regularly but of course, natay audience na wakaila.
CLA, it's a cosmetic clinic based in Wollongong. And I'm a cosmetic injector. Charlene is a permanent makeup artist.
And we specialize in acne scarring, and skin aging. Anything that makes you boost your confidence.
So, katong mga gwapa, pagwapa pagsamot.
Yes.
Oh, ana. So, ganina, gichika ninyo na ikaw passionate about beauty. Ikaw na nakay clinic daan. Unsay pinaka-motivation ninyo doing this? Kay nurse man mo pareho, but you're into beauty, nana.
For me, it's more on, I was a new mom. It's for my kids, for family. I didn't want to go back to the shift work that I used to do as a registered nurse. So I wanted to start a business because I think I can have more time with my family. But really, it's the biggest scam because running a business, it's 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah, why day off? Dong.
Oo, no. You give up your 9 to 5 for your 24/7.
Exactly.
Ano ikaw, Day?
It was an outlet for me, for my passion. I love what I do. And having a business such as CLA gives me the space to be able to express myself.
So, running the business for 3 years, so far, unsa may general feeling na, may feeling ninyo kanang, kaingon ba mo na, balik na siguro ta sa pagka-employee or padayon lang bataani or what's the general feeling right now?
Sa span sa 3 years, of course, ikapila ni cross sa among mind nga mo stop na ta, balik na ta sa atong work because the stability. It's very hard running a business here in Australia. But then kanang we have each other. That helped a lot. Na di mag-give up kay kung ma-discourage ang isa, na yung isa nga mo pick up na dili kaya ni.
Crossed our mind a lot of the times. Marag halos every week yun. Nga na nga feeling kay ang fear ba it's real. And gusto ba yata og security, no? And then ang kanang trabaho ka 24/7 gyud ang imong mind wala ka stop.
Yeah. Unsa man ang usually na struggle no nung ka weekly unsa man usually weekly struggle ninyo na makaingon mo kuya anyway.
Okay, kanang you have to keep showing up even on days nga wala gyud kay motivation, wala kay energy because you're being pulled in each direction and then nothing's left. Like sometimes ingano gyud ang feeling. But then you still have to keep going because then what will happen, you know, if like suddenly mawala ka.
Yeah, for me, no, because I don't know if people know this, that we're not just like CEO or owners of the business. We're the cleaner, we're the accountant, we're everything. We wear so many hats. So, muna challenge dira nga we just don't come in and do treatments. After that, we have to clean the clinic. We have to do admin work as well. So, muna lisod.
Yeah, may mag-train mo as
Wala.
business, as entrepreneurs. You guys are nursing graduates, so different yun siya, no? Putting up a business like this, kaning CLA, unsa may challenges? Like, let's say, pagkuha og business permit, pag-secure og location.
As a location, no, na we were lucky. But then it was also a challenging exercise because before may nakahibalo nga naa day may space nga available for us. We don't know. And everything is expensive out there. Mahal kaayo, and then always may naam gyud ni sa among dilemma nga, oh my God, mubalhin ba gyud ta? But then if we don't, we're gonna get stuck in a small space and dili ka maka-work simultaneously. That's one of them.
Yeah. Applying the business skin penetration permit, it was easy. You can just do it online. So that wasn't a challenge. So yeah, it's just more on building your brand or the clinic that you want na inline sa imong branding.
Taysa, wala din ako kapangutana. How long have you guys been operating CLA?
Almost 3 years.
So about the same time na
Nagkailam
nagkailam duha.
Yes.
In times sa mga panahon na kanang pait kaayo, in times of hardship, what keeps you going?
I would say each other.
Yes.
Yeah, we pull strength from each other.
I can't do this alone. I can't kanang bitawong purag the growth of the business. I feel like I'm not capable. I need someone to support me. Yeah. Ay, wow, hilak ko yan! Lord!
Hilak ko tayo. So would you say, Bray, na this business wouldn't exist if it's just you or if it's just Shirlene?
Yeah, I feel like when I started my business, it was really good. But then because there's a lot going on in my personal life, I became a mother. And there's bills to pay as well. Maglisod ka. But then, nagkik-partner ko, I've met Shirlene. And we somehow, have the same level sa life, stage sa life. She's a mom, I'm a mom. So then, we understand each other. Yeah.
You asked a question before if makaya ba if isa ra sa amo ang magdala sa CLA. I think if you're like I'm motivated enough or Omri is motivated enough, makaya man, but the level of growth is not there.
Yes.
We were able to, I would say, quantum leap for the past almost just 3 years. We were able to grow something like this.
Wow. How do you think would you fare if ang business ninyo na sa Philippines? Do you think mag-thrive mo? Do you think mag-flop mo?
Okay, so sa Philippines siguro no, I think I would say mo thrive pero dapat na ako dito. Which is right now I think it's impossible. I'm very invested in my life here. My family is here, my little boy is here, my partner is here, my life is here. So at the moment it would probably flop if I start there.
Right.
Lisod ba yapon sa Philippines?
Pero let's say naadjud ka dito.
Okay.
Like your family's there, like you're from Cagayan de Oro? You're
I'm
from Bohol.
Bohol.
You're from Bohol. So
Yes.
let's say you put up a skin clinic in Bohol, naadjud kang family dito and all. How do you think would you fare sa Bohol na naka-skin clinic?
I think I would fare okay. I think I would thrive. But that not saying there won't be any challenges. There will be so many challenges. Pero if my heart is set and I'm in the right mind space, then yes.
What about you, Aubrey?
Well, ako, maglisod yun siguro ko kay kanang namis Cagayan de Oro. So I think the competition is very high.
Right.
But then knowing what I know now here, mag-thrive. Ang biggest challenge is I'm a cosmetic injector and here you're treated fairly even though I'm a registered nurse. Back in the Philippines, they favor more on sa mga doctors. Yes, they feel like, oh, mas maayo ni siya kay doctor siya kaysa registered nurse. But here, I train with other doctors. So fair siya. And depende gid sa passion nimo. Shirlene and I, we talk about it, mag-open mi dito. But then we'll have to hire someone. Yeah, amo gyud huna-huna, doctor gyud.
Okay, sa Philippines, like the people are very title conscious.
Yes.
Yes. Ay, kuan ra ka, dili ko nimo inana. Running a business sa Philippines, ingon mo, you would probably fare, but running a business sa Philippines, And here, what do you think would be ang kanang similarities and differences? You mentioned a bit sa Pilipinas, prefer ang mga tao na na-title, doctor and everything. Are there any differences in terms of running a business like a skin clinic?
I would say no, access to all the trainings, better gets Australia.
Right.
Because back in the Philippines, you'll have to travel overseas to do training. Na may mga sa Pilipinas nga training based, pero mo pud gyapon ang imong hunahuna nga ay mas gusto ka ning trained overseas. Kay, di ba, it's all about kanang name or label gid gyapon.
Titles.
Titles.
Okay, sa Philippines, ang clinic, mo thrive siya, pero ang main difference is, mas price conscious yata ang mga tao, Filipino. Whereas compared here, daghan may Filipino nga clients, pero makita na mo, aggressive po sila when it comes to spending on their selves and their self-care habits.
Yeah. I guess it would fall on the purchasing power of money. Naikwarta ang mga tao sa Pilipinas, but I guess they're not that willing to spend because, you know, lisod ang kinabuhi sa Pilipinas, ang kwarta sa Pilipinas.
That's not their priority.
That's true.
Well, here, you know, like the kanang mga Australians, they do nails weekly, hair, mo gasto gid sila kay mao na ilang priority good. They wanna look good. At wala man.
Yes.
Yeah.
If atong i-rewind 15, 20 years ago na napa mo sa Pilipinas, would you have thought na moabot mo diri sa Australia and someday open up a skin clinic like this?
Wala gyud actually, no. I would say, wow, hilasa gud nimo. Kinsa gud ka. Nga naa na day kay ngani in 15 to 20 years. So actually wala gyud.
No, wa ba ako kahuna-huna ana kay busy kay sa life, wa ko nakalimot na ko sa bata nga Aubrey. Pero looking back, grew up in a small town, I didn't see myself na maka-cosmetic clinic.
Let alone be in Australia.
Yes, exactly, overseas. But then, my God, karon nga imo nang gias, nakahuna-una ko. That's very empowering. Na ako diri, and we have a thriving business. You know, ang kuanday no, ang power of being a mom, ang motivation, lahi ra gyud di ay. Yeah.
And being ambitious.
Being ambitious, yeah.
Coming from a small province.
Tanawa asa na mo ron.
Can I just add, kay na friend na ko niingon nga, ambitious kay ka, ako na-offend ko ako, dapat ko sa Pilipinas. Because I feel like we always think about being ambitious as pangit, like negative. I always see that. Yeah. But then, yeah, you're right. You have to be ambitious to somehow get what you want. Yeah.
Actually, my mom said that to me.
Ambisyosa lagi kay
Ambisyosa kay
kaday.
Tingnan ko niya. As Aubrey said, as if sayo.
How did you feel back then? Nag-ingnan kag inana na
Sa
taas kay ambisyosa kay kaday.
Mami, ayaw ko. But I remember that. Natatak sa akong mind. Well, sa akong feeling adto murag, oy, kana lagi. Sayop di ay na mahimong ambisyosa. Na kanang artira kay ko. Am I not being contented with what I have? But is it wrong to actually want more?
No, murag if it's something for ourselves, for our family, I don't think being ambitious is a bad thing. I know this guy who said na gawin mo yung gusto mo as long as wala kang tinatapakan ng ibang tao.
That's true.
Yes.
Diba?
That's true.
Yeah. Now, you've been running the business for quite a while, 3 years. Naba mo yung mga insecurities when it comes to running not just a skin clinic business, but a business in general. As a migrant, naba mo yung insecurities, ana?
Yes, kaayo. Yes.
Unsa may usual na feeling? Do you ever have that kanang imposter syndrome na ilang ginatawag na am I good enough for this or what?
When I was starting, kay purely ramagid, I really didn't want to go back to my usual job, shift work. And then na one person ni ask nga, so kinsa man yung mga client ana mga Pinoy ra guro no? And it crossed my mind, lucky no? I'm Asian, I'm Filipino, who would come to me? Australians, dili man, mga blonde sila, makita na ko sa ko training, kinagwapahan, kinataasan, and I'm just a typical Filipino girl. But then, when I started, tanan gyud Australian. ako ang clients. Why? Because work ethic nato as Filipinos are really good. I focus more on education. And then, we're very like, how we run the business. It's not more on getting money. Yes, important na. But we want result. We somehow go above and beyond and do the extra mile for our clients. And that's why we have loyal clients now. Yeah.
Naaba mo'y word of advice to anyone who plans on running or opening up a business?
Okay, so if anyone out there nga gusto mag-open up a business, I think i-prepare yun ninyo inyong self no nga there is a big possibility sa first year you're not going to be able to pay yourself, which is actually what happened to us. Yes, so wala na mo bayari amo ang kaugalingon sulod sa usa ka tuig.
So why sunduhay, ma'am?
Walay siluhay. Pait kayo.
No? Like kasi ang common misconception is, oh wow, open up a business, daghang kwarta dato and all, like freedom and all, but now you're telling me what ninyo silduhay ang inyong self for the first year.
Yes. Balik tanan sa business because we want to invest in the future for CLA. And if sige ra mi kuha o magsige mi sulo sa ourselves, it's not gonna work.
Dili mabuhi ang
If
negosyo.
wala cash flow, the business dies.
So kung wala ninyo silduhay inyong kaugalingon for 1 year, yun sa man ninyo pag-survive na kating mahal naman ang cost of living dito sa Australia.
I would say thank you so much for the people around me, my partner, who's been very supportive financially, emotionally, everything. Hats off to him, for being there for me, and I wouldn't be able to survive or be able to do what I want to do in life without his support. So thank you so much.
Same dong. Di kaya nga mo thrive ang business kung walay support sa amo ang partners. And it's also lisod sa sugod because you have to somehow make them understand ba. Well, kang Sherlyn nga side, iyang partner na ay business nga background. So it was easy. But my husband, he's also a registered nurse. So it was dili hard, but I have to make him understand that, sa first few years, inani gyud ang style sa business, and thank goodness he's able to somehow work sa iyang stable na job and support the family while I'm trying to build this business. Yeah.
Yawa ba sila kaingon o kapangutana at like at one point man mo kita ang negosyo?
Yes, mangutana gyud kaayo kay constant reassurance ba. But then I think the biggest one is even though di namo sige silang storyahan, they see us working day in, day out. Kaming Sherlyn, sige og message maski naa sa balay. And kinsa may di mo support ana. Nga kusog man sad kayo di mi nagtinapulan ba.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not like naglingkod-lingkod lang mo dahil tanaw Netflix.
Yeah, exactly.
Very grateful kayo ko on my side kasi very encouraging actually si John. I'm lucky and blessed.
Any final words of inspiration maybe? You shortly touched on being too ambisyosa. Maybe you can say something about that to our viewers.
Yeah. I think it's good to be ambitious. Wala din na ako ma-blame at parents nga inana ang ilang way of thinking because it was like back then maumang good na gyud ang ginaingon nila, but then karon bitaw I want to raise our kids nga they have to be ambitious, they have to be confident, and even dong kana bitaw kita mo growing up shy kita. So ako gusto ko nga akong kids mo show up, mo speak up. So let's be mindful of that as parents. Let's train the next generation na be ambitious, to reach for the star.
Unsa man ang imong maingon sa someone nag-ingnan og ambisyosa kay ka, what would you say to them?
Kung gingnan kag ambisyosa ka, there's nothing wrong with that. Go for it. Kung wala kayo magkitapakan nga tao, you're on the right track. Go for it.
Well, thank you so much, Aubrey and Sherlyn, for your time. Daghang salamat kayo, daghang nakatunan about your business, about being a migrant, being a mom, and being ambisyosa. So that's the story of Sherlyn and Aubrey. Thank you guys for watching. This has been another wonderful episode of the Pinoy Expat. If you want more episodes like this, Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow me on TikTok. And then follow their page as well, CLA Moms and
Coastal Lux Aesthetics.
Coastal Lux Aesthetics. Once again, my name is Icon and you're watching the Pinoy Expat. See ya!